Hey there, welcome back to my kitchen. Today we're going to be making our 2024 Christmas cookies, and I'm very excited to share this video. Christmas cookies are one of my favorite things to do during the holiday season, so let's go ahead and get started and I will show you how to make all 4 of these amazing cookie recipes. Kicking off today's video, we're going to start with a simple cookie first. We're going to make a super soft peanut butter cookie. To begin, I'm just going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Next, into a large mixing bowl, I'm going to be adding 1 stick of butter, 3/4 of a cup of peanut butter, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, and 1/4 a cup of regular sugar. Now I'm just going to go ahead and mix all that together until it's nice and smooth. Before doing anything else, I am going to scrape down the sides just to make sure everything is getting mixed in. Now you can add in 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Get that mixed together one more time, and then we're just going to turn the mixer off and let it sit here while we get our dry ingredients ready. In a separate bowl, I'm going to sift together 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, and 1/4 teaspoon of salt. Now I'm slowly going to start adding my flour into my mixing bowl and just getting that all combined until it looks something like this. Now over to a baking sheet. I did line that with a little bit of parchment paper just to make it easy cleanup. I always like to roll my cookies a little bit bigger than the recipe actually calls for, just because I think they turn out better that way. And then I'm just going to take a fork and press these down a little bit in a crisscross pattern. Another thing that I really love to do for my peanut butter cookies is just take a little bit of sugar and sprinkle it over the top. Now these are going into the oven for right around 10 minutes until you are barely just seeing some darker spots form on the cookies. As soon as I notice any color change on the cookies, I pull them out immediately and let them finish cooking on the tray outside of the oven for about 5 to 10 minutes. Here is what the peanut butter cookies looked like after they came out of the oven and after they have cooled down. These cookies are the softest peanut butter cookies I've ever had, I believe. I really enjoyed this recipe. I will have the original linked down below for you, of course. Typically, peanut butter cookies are one of the cookies that usually go first if I do make a cookie tray. So having a very basic cookie like this, you just really can't go wrong. Next up, we're going to be making some Christmas everything but the kitchen sink cookies. For this one, I am going to go ahead and preheat my oven to 350 degrees. Next, I'm adding in 1½ sticks of room temperature butter, 1/4 cup of sugar, and 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar. Then I'm just going to go ahead and get this all mixed together. Next, add in 2 room temperature egg yolks and 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. Again, I'm just going to go ahead and turn my mixer back on and let this mix up until it's looking light and fluffy. Then add in 1½ cups of all-purpose flour, a ½ teaspoon of baking powder, a ½ teaspoon of baking soda, a ½ teaspoon of salt, and then one more time you're going to get that mixed together. Now for the fun part, we're going to add in a half cup of red and green M&Ms, a third of a cup of white chocolate chips, a third of a cup of pretzels, try to break those up a little bit if you can, and a third cup of potato chips. Again, try to break those up a little bit as well. And last but not least, you're going to add about 2 tablespoons of red and green sprinkles. Go ahead and fold all of that into the cookie dough. It is going to be very thick, that is normal. And then you're going to start rolling these up into balls, and of course, like I said earlier, with the peanut butter, I like to make them bigger than the recipe actually calls for. Just try to get these all about the same size, leaving a couple inches in between each one. Now those are going into the oven to bake for about 8 to 10 minutes until they are lightly turning brown on the edges. Here's what the cookies should be looking like when they are all done. I love how these have some really fun color to them, and I also really love how the potato chips and the pretzels add more of a salty taste to these cookies, but also some really fun texture as well. And with these ones, the outside edges got pretty crispy, but the inside was still nice and soft. Now we're going to be making these chocolate peppermint blossoms. To begin, you'll just want to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Then over into a bowl, I'm going to be adding in 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, a half cup of cocoa powder, half a teaspoon of baking powder, half a teaspoon of baking soda, and a half teaspoon of salt. I'm just going to use a whisk and get that combined, and then we're just going to set that aside for right now. Now over into my big mixing bowl, I'm going to add 3/4 of a cup of softened butter, 3/4 of a cup of brown sugar, and a 1/4 cup of regular sugar. Get that combined, and then we're going to add in 2 egg yolks and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Go ahead and get that mixed together. Don't forget to scrape the edges if needed, and you're just going to let this mix until the mixture is looking light and fluffy. Now we're going to add in the dry ingredients and mix that until it is just combined. Once the dough is mixed together, it's going to look a little bit more dry than the previous 2 recipes, but that's fine. For this, once again, I'm going to go ahead and roll those up a little larger than the recipe calls for, and once they're rolled up into a nice ball, we're going to go ahead and roll that around in a little bit of sugar. In total, you're only going to need about a 1/4 cup of sugar. It's just going to coat the outside of your cookies. Go ahead and repeat that until you've filled up your cookie tray. I like to leave a couple inches in between each of the cookies. And those are going to bake for about 8 minutes until you're beginning to see the edges crack ever so slightly. While the cookies are in the oven, I'm going to go ahead and unwrap 8 of these little candy cane kisses. You will just need 1 of these for each of the cookies. Once the cookies came out of the oven, I let them rest for about 3 minutes and then pressed a kiss into each one of them. Here's what the cookies looked like after they had cooled down completely. I really enjoyed these. These were definitely different than the traditional peanut butter blossoms I normally have. But I really love the pop of color on these, and anybody that loves peppermint is really going to love these. And now finally, my husband said these ones were his favorite out of all 4. We're going to make these gooey butter Christmas cookies. For this one, you will need to preheat your oven to 350 degrees. Into my mixing bowl, I'm going to be adding in 1 stick of room temperature butter and 1 block of room temperature cream cheese. Go ahead and get that mixed together until it's nice and smooth. Then you'll add in 1 egg and 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Once again, you're just going to mix that until that is all combined. And then you're going to add in 1 box of white cake mix. Once you have that all mixed together, go ahead and scrape the edges just to make sure everything is well combined. And then you're going to add in about 2 to 3 tablespoons of sprinkles. Go ahead and give that a quick mix together by hand, and then we're going to start rolling these into balls. As you roll these cookies up, you are going to sprinkle them with a little bit more sprinkles on the part that's going to be the top, and then roll them in some powdered sugar. Go ahead and repeat that for the rest of your cookies and try to keep them about 2 to 3 inches apart on the parchment paper lined baking sheet. Now these are going in the oven and they're only going to bake for about 8 to 9 minutes. Here's what the cookies looked like when they were all done, and I just have to tell you, these are probably the softest cookies I have ever had in my entire life. Even 5 days after making these, they were just as soft as they were on day 1. The flavor is a little bit different than I was expecting it to be, but I actually really enjoyed them, and my husband said he wants me to keep making these every single year. Thank you so much for watching today's video. I do really hope that you enjoyed and found some great recipes to try out. And if you don't mind, please leave me a flower down in the comments below to let me know that you made it to the end of today's video, and I will be seeing you back here on Sunday for a new video. Bye!